Welcome back to A Moment in History. I'm Seth Udinsky. In this episode, let's travel back to the violent and bloody medieval world in the Middle East as the Christian West and the Muslim Near East clashed in a violent struggle for control of the Holy Land. On the Muslim side, there was a sinister group of mercenaries who wrought destruction on the Christians in the Holy Land. They were, in many ways, the Muslim counterpart to the Christian Knights Templar. Let's explore the fascinating account of the Muslim assassins of the Crusades. Now, this moment in history is revealing in many ways into the way that history is often much more complicated than we tend to think it is. For example, the medieval Crusades were not simply a clash of two united global empires where all of Christian Europe went up against all of the Muslim Middle East in essentially a medieval forerunner to a world war. That's not what happened. It was much more complex. Christians often fought against Christians, as we remember from the Fourth Crusade in 1204. And this was also true for the Muslims. They were not all united, and there was great rifts among them during this time. So enter the assassins. These were a group of Muslim mercenaries that many Orthodox Muslims actually condemned as Islamic heretics. They traced their ancestry back to the 8th century, with their foundation coming from the Muslim early leader Ismail, who was very controversial in the Shiite sect of Islam. Now, when war broke out in the already contentious Middle East in the 11th century, this group of Muslim-ish mercenaries found a role that they perfected: sinister and sudden killings of their enemies, usually Christians, but sometimes fellow Muslims, and often in an up-close and personal way, perfecting the use of knives, for example. They were most famous for orchestrating the murders of several Christian leaders in the Crusader-era Kingdom of Jerusalem. The victims included Raymond II, Count of Tripoli, and Conrad of Montferrat, King of Jerusalem, both in the later half of the 12th century. But the assassins did not just target Christians. They also went after their fellow Muslims. And in one of the most controversial moments in an already controversial historical account, a group of these mercenaries tried to take out the legendary supreme Islamic military warlord of the time, Saladin. They tried twice, and both attempts were unsuccessful. Now, it was in large part because of the terror the assassins inflicted upon the Christian pilgrims in the Holy Land that the need for the Order of Knights Templar was created. Both groups, secretive and mighty in their own right, jockeyed for power in the Holy Land, but in the end, both were extinguished by outside forces. The Templars fell in the early 14th century at the hands of French King Philip the Fair, while the assassins met their demise in the 13th century at the hands of the mighty Mongol Empire in the Near East. Thanks so much for joining me once again for A Moment in History.